All right, so today we're going to dive into a language that really tried to bring a bit of, zen to the often chaotic world of web development. We are talking about CoffeeScript.
I mean, think about it. JavaScript is absolutely everywhere. It's the language of the web, no question. But what if you could take it, sand down all its rough edges, and make it simpler, cleaner, even more expressive? Well, that's the core idea behind CoffeeScript, and it's what we're going to explore today. You know, to really get why CoffeeScript even exists, we have to talk about JavaScript first. It's an incredibly powerful language, for sure, but it also has some, let's just call them gnarled edges. And a big reason for that is because it was built, well, in a massive hurry. Okay, let's break this down. JavaScript is kind of a melting pot of different ideas. On the surface, it looks a lot like C, right? It's got those familiar curly braces, so programmers back in the day would feel right at home. But under the hood, its soul comes from totally different places. From a language called Scheme, it got its taste for functional programming, and from another one called Self, it inherited this really dynamic, fluid idea of prototypes. And this created a kind of friction in the language. It looks one way, but it acts in a completely different way. And here's the real kicker. All of those clashing ideas were just smashed together in a ridiculously short amount of time. I mean, we're talking about maybe 10 days. Because it all happened so fast, some weird quirks and problems got baked right into the foundation of the language, and there's still things developers have to deal with today.
So to make this problem a little more real, let's meet Agtron and Scruffy. Now, they could be any developer who's ever had to take over a giant, messy codebase. Scruffy thinks the code is disgusting because he just can't figure it out. Agtron, on the other hand, thinks it's disgusting because he can.
And this is the scale of what they're up against. Over 500,000 lines of JavaScript. When your code is full of clutter and just plain hard to read, a number this big isn't just a challenge, it's a monster. This is the exact kind of real-world pain that made people look for a better way.
So what do you do about it? Well, the folks behind CoffeeScript had a pretty brilliant idea. Let's do some spring cleaning. The whole goal was to just peel back all those layers of extra syntax, all the clutter, and reveal the simple, elegant language that was hiding underneath all along. And here it is. This is the result. On the left, you've got your standard JavaScript. You've got the var keyword, the word function, parentheses, curly braces, a return statement, a semicolon, all that ceremony. Now look at the right. Same exact logic, but in CoffeeScript. See what's missing? All that extra stuff is just gone. The code is so much cleaner, and you can focus on what it's actually trying to do.
This is pretty much exactly what's going on. Agtron and Scruffy are literally throwing out the garbage. The semicolons, the curly braces, the extra keywords, all of it is getting tossed out in this big syntactic spring cleaning.
So how does this magic trick actually work? Let's just walk through it. We start with our plain old JavaScript function. Okay, first up, CoffeeScript says you don't need the semicolon. Gone. Next, because of how it uses indentation, we can ditch the curly braces. Then, it makes keywords like var and the final return in a function totally optional. They're implied, so we can get rid of those too. And finally, that clunky word function gets replaced with a slick little arrow. And there you have it. We've just distilled JavaScript down to CoffeeScript. But look, this isn't just about making your code look prettier. By getting rid of all that syntactic noise, CoffeeScript actually opens the door to some really powerful features. And a fantastic example of this is something called comprehensions. This comic is the perfect analogy. So Scruffy is going down a list one by one asking about each drink. But Agtron doesn't have to answer for each one. He just applies a single rule, no, to the entire list at once. That's exactly what a comprehension does. It lets you apply one operation to every single item in a collection, all in one clean shot. And wow, the difference is just stunning. Look at the JavaScript on the left. If you want to double every number in an array, you've got to set up a counter, create an empty array to hold the results, write a whole while loop, and then manually manage that counter. It's a lot of grunt work. Now look at the CoffeeScript. It reads almost like a sentence in English. The new list is each number times 2 for every number in the old list. It describes what you want to do, not all the boring mechanical steps to get there.
So you might be wondering, hey, if we get rid of the curly braces, how does the computer know which lines of code go together? And the answer is a really cool concept borrowed from languages like Python, significant white space. It means the indentation of your code isn't just for making it look nice. It is the structure. It's what defines blocks of code, which basically forces you to write clean, readable stuff.
Okay, let's zoom out for a minute and look at the big picture.
What does an experiment like CoffeeScript really tell us about the way we write code and the way languages evolve?
And this really gets to the heart of it all. CoffeeScript was never about replacing JavaScript or trying to escape from it. Actually, by stripping away all that extra syntax, it kind of forces you to engage with the core, powerful ideas inside JavaScript more directly. So in a funny way, it helps you understand the original language even better. In fact, many of its ideas were so good they ended up inspiring features in modern JavaScript, like the arrow functions we use all the time today.
So let's just quickly recap the big points here. First, remember CoffeeScript is just a small language that turns right back into regular JavaScript. Its main goal is to make your code smaller and easier to read by cutting out all the noise. That simplicity then makes room for powerful tools like comprehensions. And maybe the most important thing is that playing with these ideas can actually make you a more thoughtful JavaScript programmer because you start to see the elegant core of the language more clearly.
You know, this whole story really points to a bigger idea about programming. CoffeeScript was a really successful experiment in, well, syntactic spring cleaning. And it kind of makes you wonder, as our languages and our tools keep evolving, what parts of the code we write today are going to look like unnecessary clutter tomorrow? What are we going to clean up next?